Good morning, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining us here for the Phil and Dave show. Dave will be with us momentarily uh, as we start off on Monday, May 6th. And so glad you were able to join us today.
Hi, glad you're here today. It's 8:38, 22 here before 9. Time to check in on your money and find out how Wall Street's doing. Boy, it was a great day on Friday. The Dow was up almost 200 points. Everything's coming up roses. And then somebody let the president get to his cell phone and Twitter one more time. Let's find out what goes on. Downtown Sebring to the offices of Statler Financial Services, and Phillip Statler is on the line. Phillip, good morning. Can we just flush the president's cell phone?
You know, some people I'm sure are wishing that they could do that this morning. That's for sure.
Boy, oh boy, that was one change. Overnight tweet out of the president. Double all the tariffs on Chinese imports if we don't make progress, not in a month, not in a year, by Friday. And boy, just about everybody with $10 in their pocket headed for the hills, didn't they?
You know, it was, yes, it was a fast decline once that tweet hit. The Dow was down as much as 500 points early this morning. Now we're seeing a little bit of a reversal from that. And actually, that was not early this morning. I'm sorry. That was yesterday afternoon or evening I saw that hit.
And it was utterly amazing. And, yeah, we're staying pretty much flat since 6 p.m. last night. We're pretty much staying flat between 400 and 500 points. Yeah, it was yesterday afternoon. President Trump tweeted that he needed progress on the Chinese talks, and if it didn't happen by Friday, he was going to slap another $200 billion or whatever in tariffs on Chinese imports. I was saying before we went on the air, we're down the better part of 2%. We should consider ourselves fortunate. After that happened, Chinese markets went down by over 3%. So, boy, talk about causing a global upset, huh?
Well, yeah, it's you're right. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, and it has caused some major upsets in the marketplace. And, you know, one of the headlines is this the art of the deal or a serious breakdown in trade talks?
And you really don't know, because Trump is famous for being a bit of a brinksman on both private and public dealings. Remember, we were threatening North Korea with nuclear annihilation as well, just to get a summit out of the thing. So we really don't know how serious this breakdown is. But boy, Wall Street is behaving as if it really was a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know, it brings a lot of uncertainty when we talk about trade, and so the traders, they don't like uncertainty. And so when you start adding in this uncertainty of, is that going to happen? Is it not going to happen? They don't like that.
Absolutely. Now, you got to add a little bit of additional fly to the ointment, too, because we'd be remiss if we don't mention this, that we're sending a carrier group to the Middle East because there's more saber rattling going on with Iran and the mess between the Israelis and the Palestinian organizations that have been throwing rockets at them. And the world is just nowhere near as settled a place this morning as it looked like it was on Friday morning.
Well, that's true. You know, Friday ended up being not a bad day overall, I think. So, you know, to give back some of that stuff today, I mean, it's a pretty big give back, but still, I think we'd be, well, at the rate we are right now, it would wipe out all of last week's gains and put us a little bit to the south of that.
Now, and it always helps to remember that when you look at Wall Street reactions to virtually anything, it's always a rather quick and rather vociferous reaction. So, seeing us down between 450 and 500 points on the Dow today, it's pretty much a lead pipe cinch that there's going to be a maybe we overreacted day at some point in the future anyway.
We would sure hope so, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe as we get closer to Friday, if there's not a change in language, maybe not, Dave. I mean, that could be if the president holds his line and really does do that, and there's not any move towards what he wants, then it may be a negative week.
That's right. Well, the other side of the coin is if it actually the threats hold steady and stay in place until Friday, that's enough of that's enough of stimulation in order to give us that correction that you and I have been talking about being overdue. So, point taken, there are two sides to the coin, aren't there?
Absolutely, and you know, if we find out that, hey, it's got China's attention, they're moving towards us, and and the president starts softening that tone, then I think you'll see the bounce. But if he's drawn a line in the sand, and then it could be a rough week this week.
Yes, definitely. The longer the sabers rattle, the longer we're going to be upset. There were some reports coming out in the middle of earnings season, but boy, they're really going to pale in terms of market moving compared to the international news, right?
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's just not much really popping this morning. I mean, I've got Tyson Foods, the big chicken maker producer and beef producer. They came in ahead of expectations by about 6 cents a share. Revenue was also exceeded the forecast, but they said their chicken segment is poised for some improvement after what it thinks is hitting some low profit margins for this year, and so they are trading down this morning a little, not quite 3%.
Well, a little bit of it might be partially the fact that some of their chicken strips are getting recalled because there was a problem with that. That tends toward being temporal, right?
Well, that, and I think Friday they closed pretty much right up against their 52-week high too.
That would be a piece of it as well. Other indications, I know that you didn't get that, but I did. Cisco Services, the big restaurant food supplier, reported, and they showed some year-over-year growth, which was good news because we're not seeing as much of that as we'd love to see. A little bit below what the street expected on revenue, but their earnings per share was a big beat, 9 cents more than the street expected. That I thought was pretty good news.
Well, it was, but their stock's not liking it, and I think that's mostly because the little bit of a miss in there overall. But they're trading down about 0.75% this morning.
That's going to be interesting. One thing I noticed just out of surprise with the upset in the Middle East, our oil prices are relative to everything else staying relatively stable at the moment. Other indications we've got that are moving the markets this morning, or is it all going to be the international tensions?
It's all pretty much the international tensions right now, Dave. I'm looking at the earnings schedule. There's some stuff that'll come out after the market closes today. But on the macro side, on the macro side, the big stuff, there's not much coming out this week. We got PPI and CPI coming out, I think Thursday and Friday, along with the jobs. But other than that, the macro is kind of quiet this week.
Second week of the month is generally a relatively quiet one for government data dump news, which might not be bad. Let us lick our wounds on this week and then get some good news from the economy. We cross our fingers anyway next week. So we're 45 minutes before the market opens up this morning, setting the table. Friday was way up on good unemployment news. Dow was up by 197. NASDAQ was up by 127. Standard & Poor's was up by 28. Everything up by darn close to a full percentage point. Then the weekend intervenes. Then tweets from the president intervene. And 45 minutes ahead of time, how bad is the red ink this morning, Phillip?
Well, not as bad as China's, but still bad. The Dow's down 1.7%, which is $451. The S&P 500 is down about 1.5, which is $43.60, and then the Nasdaq's down about 1.9%, which is $146. Gold and silver both trending down. Gold not by much, but silver down by 1%. And then crude oil is getting back where we like it. Trying to get down below 60, but it's down 0.75% this morning, down to $61.45 a barrel.
And that kind of surprises me, given the upset in the Middle East, doesn't it? You?
Well, it does. I think that that has something to play in it, but I think maybe overall, it may be looking better for the local producers, given those things are happening, and so they feel like, hey, it's maybe that's not that big of a deal. Maybe it's not that much of a production.
It's a possibility. Also, we're finally up to the point where national domestic production could increase, and that'll help supply, and that'll get it down a little bit as well. Overseas markets, like we said, Asian Rim markets just got creamed. Hong Kong closed almost 3% down this morning at the close. Japan followed suit with smaller losses. In Europe, right now, midway through their day, they're kind of mixed this morning with a reticent reaction to what's going on over here. Phillip, somebody needs advice as far as how to stabilize retirement. Is this going to go one way or the other? Nobody knows, but being safe beats being sorry. How do I find you for advice on the phone?
You're so right, Dave. Everybody out there says, hey, you need to be in the stock market. You need to be in the market. We're not there. We're telling people something different. You need to know what your risk tolerance is. And that's why we do our financial x-ray. So a great opportunity here with some volatility within the marketplace. Give us a call at 382-0037 to schedule your no obligation x-ray report. And then join us every day on Facebook where we repost this. If you miss us in the morning, hey, catch up with us later that day. Statler Financial Services. And then join us every weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, noon on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Sunday mornings on News Talk 730 a.m.
Now streaming all the time at newstalk730am.com. Makes the boss happy when I say that.
Absolutely. Hey, it makes us happy that we're there. So, hey, you have a great day, Dave, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
I gotcha. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Phillip Statler. Stop.
Hey, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I hope that you enjoyed the show this morning. And as we get ready for this week, like we said, if things don't change and Trump doesn't kind of acquiesce on his thing, this could be a rough week. And so stay tuned as we continue to talk about what's happening in the marketplace the rest of this week.